In this video, I'm gonna show you how to edit a Splatoon poster in Paint.net. I've used this program for a long time. I've been using this for like 6-7 years. I use it to edit my thumbnails, my posters of course, and just about anything. Anyway, let's just get into the video. Let's say you're done with your poster now and you're gonna edit it. So you can either just drag it in here or go to File and Open and locate it. And here we have it. We can zoom out here or drag this. So here we have the poster we're gonna edit. So first I'm gonna quickly explain what these tools do so you can get more comfortable with the program. So rectangle select will select an area, so you just hold left click and select an area and release like that, and then left click again to remove it, or you can click here deselect. This lasso select is the same thing except you can draw freely to make the selection, and this circle is the same but a circle, and you can also hold the shift to make it perfectly round, and you can also do the same with the rectangle select. You can like hold shift to make it a perfect square, and this magic wand will select only the color you left click on like that, and you can change the tolerance up here to make it select more or less, and deselect up here. And here we have the paint bucket tool, which will fill an area with the color you have selected down here, and it will also work like the magic wand. It will fill the color you click on. So if I click here, it will fill that area, and I can change the tolerance up here, and you can undo up here. And here we have the paintbrush, which is quite obvious. It's a paintbrush, so you can just draw. You can also change the brush width to, I don't know, 15, and you can also undo with the Control Z like that, and the hardness will increase or decrease the hardness of the brush. You can also scroll to increase it. If we paint here, you see it's quite soft around the edges, so if we increase the hardness, now it's a lot sharper, and if we decrease it, it's very blurry. So that's it. And this pencil tool is which is almost the same as the paintbrush, except it will only draw single pixels. So if we zoom in by holding Control and scrolling, you can see it only draws one pixel at a time. And you can also click here to realign it like that, and you can zoom out of it. And here clone stamp will clone a specific area you select. So let's say if I just left click, it doesn't work. You have to, as it says, control click to set the anchor point. So hold control and left click. So now we have the anchor point, and if we draw like here, it will copy from that area. So that's how that works. And the T is just a text tool. So if we just type something, you see text, and you can change font here. And here you can make shapes. You can change up here like just to a circle, and also here you can hold shift to make it perfectly round. And here we have line/curve, which will make lines and curves. And you can also hold shift to snap it in place, and when you release, you can curve it. And here recolor, which will recolor the color you click on to whatever color you have selected. So if I click on her hair, I can paint it black. It looks kind of weird now, but we need to change the tolerance and hardness to make it look better. And this color picker, if we left click on her hair, we will copy that color, so now we can draw with it. And here we have the eraser, which is quite obvious. It's the eraser, it erases stuff. And here we have a gradient, which will make a gradient based on the two colors you have here. And if you want to select this secondary color, you right click, so let's say yellow, and now we can make a gradient. And with this hand you can pan around. You can also do it by holding down your scroll button. And this zoom tool, which does the same thing as this, except you can like click on a certain area, like you can zoom in here and zoom out by right clicking and left clicking. And this move selection tool, if you only left click, it will select the entire piece, and now we can adjust the selection like that. And this move selected pixels will move around the pixels instead of the selection like that. Then we can rotate and do whatever. So that's all the tools in Paint.net, and obviously we have more stuff here, but that's, well, the tool area here. So colors says itself, you select your color here and you can click more to get more colors here. And layers are kind of like pieces of paper on top of each other. So if we add a new layer here, we can draw here. Now we have this selected and we can draw here, and then we wanna erase it with the eraser. We cannot erase Tanisha here. We can only erase the stuff we've drawn here because it's on this layer. If we want to erase Tanisha, we need to select the background layer, and now we can erase her. And we can also go to properties down here to like change blend mode and stuff like that to make it look kind of neat. And the history is everything we've done, so we can go back to when we made the text, for example, and we can go forward. Like that. So that's a quick explanation of the basic stuff in Paint.net. So now we come to, well, editing. So how can we improve this? We can start by adjusting the brightness and contrast. And brightness and contrast is on adjustments. And don't worry about these puzzle pieces. That is plugins I've installed myself, which doesn't come pre-installed with Paint.net. I have a video showing how to install them, but we won't get into it in this video. So, brightness and contrast. And here we can tweak the brightness and tweak the contrast. And here is the reset arrow, so we can reset them. I think I want the image to be a bit brighter, so I want to increase the brightness. But then it starts to look kind of flat, so I need to also increase the contrast. Like that, and maybe now her skin is a bit too bright, so now we need to decrease the brightness, and that means we also kind of need to decrease the contrast to get a good balance. Like that. It's very subtle, but we have lost a bit of color when we did the brightness and contrast, so we can go to adjustments and go to hue and saturation to get that color back, so we can increase the saturation just a tiny bit, not too much, like that. So if we go back in history, here's before, and here's after. Just a tiny bit better, in my opinion. And if we want to do more, like, and here's black and white if you want that. And we also have auto level, which can work in certain scenarios, but as you can see, it does not really look good here. So undo. How to make this better? We can try to crop the image. What that means is changing the... You see, now this is kind of like a rectangle. We're gonna change it to more like a square. So kind of, I want the image to be like this. And that is exactly what you need to do. You need to use the rectangle select. Basically just select what you want. So I want like that. And then crop the selection. There you go, that's it. So this is the entire image now. You can see on her hair here that the sun is coming from this direction. Maybe we want to add some fake light leakage. We're gonna pick orange. And do we need to tweak it? We'll do it later if we need to. So now pick the paintbrush. We want the hardness to be all the way down, and then the brush with 2000 we want it very big. And then make sure you make a new layer. And now if we just paint a bit here, that looks kind of weird. But if we go to properties and set the blend mode to additive, that looks kind of neat. And if we pick this tool, move selected pixels, we can just left click and select everything, and then we can adjust it a bit. That looks kind of neat. Maybe we don't want it to be that harsh, so we can decrease the opacity a bit, so like that. And you do that by properties and here. So what can we do now? Okay, I'm gonna show you a trick that I use quite often, and that is I'm gonna go to image and flatten it, so we merge every layer into a single layer, as you can see here. And then I'm gonna press Ctrl C, which will copy the image, and then I'm gonna go back in history, so I have my layers back, and then make a new layer, put it at the top, and then paste it by pressing Ctrl V. So now I have every layer in a single layer. So I have these two in this layer. So now I can, I'm gonna show you here. So now I can do something like changing brightness and contrast a bit, like very harsh. So now this looks very weird, but I'm gonna use the eraser and same settings, brush width 2000, hardness 0. Then I'm gonna paint everything away here. Like that, and now you can see only this part is changed. You see, only this part. You can use other methods to do that, but that's what I like to do. And we can get some saturation in that, so it's a bit more colorful. Like that. If we zoom out, looks kind of neat, but we can do more, of course. I think I want to add some particles, and there are a lot of ways to do that. First we want to add a new layer, of course. So you can either have like an overlay or paint them yourself. And I'm gonna paint them myself for this. I still want them to be orange. I'm gonna pick paintbrush, increase the brush width a bit. I think that's alright. I'm gonna decrease the hardness. To get a better idea, I'm gonna go to properties and set the blend mode to additive again. And decrease opacity a bit. So now I'm gonna put some dots here and there, and I'm gonna make sure they are in different sizes. Make sure you tweak the brush width and the hardness. So change the brush width and hardness for every particle. So take your time with it, just make sure it looks natural, at least sort of natural. I'm not saying I can do it a very natural look, but I'm gonna try. Don't be afraid to undo and try again. Don't be afraid to put particles on your character, because who knows, maybe the particle is in between the camera and the characters. Of course it can be there. I'm gonna put it in a good spot still, because the image comes first. It still needs to look good. Okay, I think that looks kind of neat. So what we can do now is, if we don't like the color of the particles, so now we can easily go to hue and saturation, and now we can easily tweak it however we want it. Maybe I want it to be pink like Tanisha, or maybe I still want it to be orange. I actually do want it to still be orange, so I'm gonna keep it. Maybe I'm gonna make it brighter. Yeah, I do want it a tiny bit brighter. Like that. Now we're gonna do some simple color grading. Well, not really color grading because you need a plugin for that. So we're gonna just put an overlay. And what I mean by that is make a new layer and then use the paint bucket and then left click on the image with the color you want. So I'm gonna just use orange for now. Like that. And then go to properties down here and set the blend mode to overlay and decrease opacity. Now we can see the image is more warm. Maybe we don't want it to be orange. Maybe we want it to be blue. Then you can easily change it. Just to change it down here. Then you can tweak it however you want it. And you don't have to use overlay. You can also use whatever blend mode you want. As long as it looks good in your eyes. So maybe difference. That looks kind of neat. If we decrease opacity a bit. See, that has a cool look to it. That looks kind of neat, doesn't it? See, you need to experiment to find a really cool look. Look at that, I just changed blend mode and that made a huge difference. And now, because we used the blend mode difference, it's a bit more flat now. So what we're gonna do now, instead of having to do it on every layer, we're gonna do it like I did the last time. We're gonna go to image, flatten, then Ctrl C, go back a step, make a new layer, put it at the top, and then paste by pressing Ctrl V. So now we have every layer in a single layer again. And then go to adjustments, go to brightness and contrast, and now we can tweak everything again. So maybe I want it to have a bit more contrast, like that. And maybe I want more saturation. It's your piece, so you choose. It's starting to look quite good. I'm not sure if I'm gonna keep it because I'm not sure if it will fit in this poster, but I'm gonna show it anyway. So I'm gonna make the eyes glow, and how to do that? I'm gonna make a new layer, then pick the color you want, so maybe pink, pick the paintbrush, then the hardness all the way down, then the brush with like that maybe, then just left click once on each eye, maybe this one a little bit smaller, like that, and then just go to properties and set the blend mode to additive or screen, then decrease it a bit. I think it would look better if it was a darker scene where it will actually stand out more, so I'm gonna not use it. What can we do more? So now we already have every layer in a single layer here, so we can just duplicate it here, so we don't have to do everything like flatten and stuff. So I'm gonna go to effects and then go to blurs, and I'm gonna go to Gaussian blur, up the radius a bit, like that, press OK, then properties, blend mode, screen, pick the eraser and brush width all the way up, and then erase everything except the edges. And if we compare it, maybe it's a bit too bright in the edges, maybe overlay would be, maybe additive, and then decrease it. Okay, it's very subtle, but I do think it's a little bit better. So like it's a tiny bit of bright blur in the edges. It's super subtle, but if it looks better, why not do it? So another thing we can do, which I like to do all the time, is add a new layer at the top, pick gray, and then just fill it with the gray, then go to effects, noise, and add noise. We don't need the color saturation, and then the intensity all the way up, then okay, and then go to properties and set the blend mode to overlay, and that will basically overlay a bit of noise. It depends on the scene, but I do like to add a tiny bit of noise in every poster. If we zoom in, maybe not that much. It's super subtle, but for some reason I do like it, so I'm gonna keep it. So maybe a bit more. I think I like to do when working on posters, I like to go here, image, and flip horizontal, and that is just to get a different view of the poster. Even though you will see it like this, it can sometimes help flipping it to get some ideas and see how we can improve it. So let's say I'm happy with this. So now we wanna save it, but first, before we do that, I'm gonna add a new layer and put my watermark, because you don't want anyone to steal it. Oh. So I'm gonna use just white and the font Arial. I'm just gonna put in my Twitter tag at Faloliver1, and then we can zoom in, and then I'm gonna use a rectangle select and select it, then use the move selected pixels tool and just move it to where I want it. You can either put it in like the corner, or as I like to do, I like to like hide it in the image, or like put it in a fun spot. Don't forget to use shift when when scaling it down, because otherwise it will stretch it maybe here. And so it's not distracting, I like to decrease the opacity. There you go! I totally forgot to record how to save, so I'm gonna do it now. So to save, just go to File and Save As. Save, that will save to the project you're already working on, and Save As will save to a new file. We wanna choose Save As, and then put it wherever you want it. And if you wanna keep working on it later, you want to choose .pdn, because .pdn is a Paint.net project file, while PNG, JPEG, and all of these are like image files you can upload to the internet. If you're not done, save it as a PDN. If you're done and you're happy with it, save it as a PNG or JPEG. And since I'm done, I'm gonna save it as a PNG. I'm gonna name it Boy. And then just click OK, and then flatten, which will merge every layer into a single layer. And that's it. So that's how to edit a Splatoon poster in Paint.net. Well, maybe not how to, but that's some edits I like to do sometimes when editing posters. I hope this was helpful. This was kind of like a remake or whatever of my old edit tutorial from over a year ago. I wasn't really happy with it, so I tried to make this one at least a little bit better. So I hope I did that, and if you have any questions, I'm gonna try my best to answer them, and if I can't, I'm sorry, and I don't have anything else to say, so thanks so much for watching, and bye!